Hello, I hope everybody's having a good day. I was wanting to share this message. I have learned that the Bible is a book of letters of men like you and I writing to each other, letting people know of how their world was a mess, their life was a mess, and that when Jesus came into the picture and he started teaching his teachings to the people, how when they applied that message to their lives, how it made a difference. Now, me being in this new world that God has provided for us, I've made some very bad choices. I gave a teaching a couple nights ago about making good choices and bad choices and the consequences to those choices, what the result of that is. And so it's important that we recognize the difference between the two, good choice and a bad choice. So me in my life, I've made a lot of bad choices, and because of that, my life has become a mess. And this was in the past. And now me recognizing this and then understanding how Jesus Christ came and delivered a message, and how now Jesus Christ has delivered that message to my heart and to my mind, and now me applying that message has made a difference. So it's important that we recognize how our obedience to Christ really makes a difference. So I want to share a story about Abraham. If you guys have heard the story of Abraham in the Bible, he understood the obedience to Christ. So in the beginning in Genesis, it talks about the obedience that we should have towards Christ, and when we are in obedience to Christ, that he will always provide the land. So later on in the Bible, it talks about Abraham and how God had reached out to Abraham and spoken to him and told him to sacrifice his son. Now, I mean, that's a big request to a human being for you to sacrifice your son. So Abraham, being in obedience to Christ, went up to that mountain to do what Christ had asked him to do. That was to sacrifice his son. So he had gone up to that mountain with two others other than his son, so it was four of them. And when they were on the way, when they were getting pretty close to that altar where he was supposed to sacrifice his son to Christ, he asked the other two to stay behind, but he told them that they would be back, that they would both be back. So think about that. Abraham, knowing that he was going up there to sacrifice his son, he was going to return back by himself, would be almost like he was lying to the two men that they would both be back. So when he gets up there to the top of the mountain, he goes and puts his son up on top of that altar, and he's about to do that sacrifice. And Jesus reaches down and tells him, don't, because your heart and your mind is in the right place, and because you're being obedient, he provides a lamb for him, so he sacrifices the lamb instead. So man, to me, it gave me a different understanding of how when we're in obedience, he always makes a way. He provides the lamb. So me, I've learned to be in full obedience to Christ so that he can always provide for me. So if we're in obedience to Christ, he always will make a way. Sometimes, we think that things are impossible and things turn around, and God makes it possible. So I wanted to share this with you guys, that if we're in full obedience to Christ, that he will always make a way. He will provide the land. So it's important that we apply these messages to our life, and we apply his teachings that we're learning through the Bible, and so that we can experience his full grace. When we're in disobedience to Christ, we step out of grace with Christ. So I wanted to share this with you guys, and I want you guys to start learning to apply these messages that are in the Bible that are very important to us, in which when Christ came into the picture, into their lives, how it made a difference. So I'm sharing with you that when Christ came into my life and I applied his full message, how it's made a difference. And I wanted to let you guys know that, and I want you guys to have a great day. Later.